get a clear picture of who it is you want to be or what it is you want to create and tie positive emotion to it and actually believe that you can do it. Bam, that is step one. The better you get at setting goals and working towards them, the better you feel about yourself, the more ability you'll have to create the life that you want. A goal is an opportunity to learn how to not quit. You get rid of fear by taking action. End of story. It's not necessarily the goal that you set, it's learning how to set a goal and achieve it. Pow! Pow, we're getting started. Here we go. How's that haircut looking? All right, y'all. How you doing out there? Happy New Year. I fully realize that this is coming in late. You know, if I was 100% on task, I would have gotten this out on the first, maybe, you know, the first Monday in January, but that didn't happen. So better late than never. Okay. So we got our episode here. As I said last time, I'm kind of done talking about how your body works. I got pretty much everything I wanted to say, for the most part, in there. So if you have questions, if you're curious about how your body works and you're just getting tuned in, go back to episodes 1 through 14, and that is it 14? Yeah, I think so. That is all we're talking about. So now we're going to get into more of the how-to, okay? Which I have no idea what I'm going to talk about there, but we're going to talk about something. Actually, I do know what I'm going to talk about. Next week, we're going to be talking about eating. We're going to talk about eating next week. I'm just going to say it like that, I guess, for now. But this episode today, we're going to get into how to set a goal. Just keep it simple, how to set a goal. I'm sure the AI system will come up with a better name than that. And we're going to get into more depth than that. We're not just kind of talking about how to set a goal. We're talking about why you want to set a goal and all the stuff that goes along with it. So, goal of this episode, understand the value of a goal and help you to set one if you have not or have never done it before. Or if you have done it before, maybe give you some insights on maybe a different way to do it, okay? That is the plan. Outline of topics. Hey, Nathan, let's have these instead of stacking them bottom up. Let's have them go down, right? So it'll be... It's going to go updates, New Year's history, and so top down anyways. All right, outline of topics, guys. If you don't know, Nathan's the editor, and I can just give him instruction through here. It's really very, very simple. Outline of topics. There's only 5 today. Updates. New Year's history. We're going to get into the history of New Year's. Why set a goal? Setting a goal. And some final thoughts, per usual. Like those final thoughts. I try and get deep on the final thoughts. Updates. Here we go. Lions dominated Minnesota. Unbelievable. I didn't think they were going to win that game. Just, being a, bit of a pessimist with the history of the Lions. Thought, they're not going to pull this one off. They're not going 15-2. They're going to be 14-3. That's fine. But they won, and that is pretty darn amazing. Weather's been cold. Well, it's been cold. That's what's going on there. I didn't update this. I did not update this sheet, but I know it anyways. Subscriber update. I haven't done a studio update in a while. Oh, if you didn't notice, I had a guy come out, a professional video editor, director guy. He does a bunch of stuff for a local company. And he actually sometimes he goes on set and directs. He told me how much he makes when he does that, which is crazy. But anyways, he came out, was super helpful. And we adjusted the shots a little bit, adjusted some of the lighting, some of the angles, set up another shot, and also went over to the gym and set up a shot for some testimonials that we plan on doing sometime in the near future. So that was pretty cool. So that was a studio update. Hadn't had one in a while. All right, subscribers, here we go. Email, same. But YouTube went from 63 to 72. That deserves some applause. Let's go YouTube, And so, like I've been saying, it's a matter of focus and attention. I've been just spreading myself thin. I'm like too much, not enough jam spread over a piece of toast the past 3 months. At least that's how I felt. And so I couldn't focus on everything, and I was trying to find somebody to do that. And the first guy did okay, but his specialty was not YouTube. We made some changes, said, let's not try and hit the Twitter and the Instagram, and I'm not even going to say it because we're not doing that, and the other social medias out there, because everything's going to take attention and time. And so we're just going to focus on YouTube right now. And the new guy that we brought on, that's kind of his specialty. We found a guy that's focused on YouTube, And in a week, he got us from 63 to 72. So that is fantastic. Spotify and Apple are tied at 21. Reminder, please submit your questions to dennis@dennisfenrich.com, or you can reply to the email if you're currently subscribed. I also had a thought as well that you could, if you were wondering what I thought about something, if you came across something on the internets there and you were like, oh man, what does Dennis think about this? You could send that to me. I could watch it or read it and then tell you. Somebody actually did that. And I just didn't know how to respond. I talked to this person in person, and he said, what do you think about this? And actually sent me something, but I looked at it. I just don't know what to say about it. But anyways, I think that's a great idea. I see people doing that. I'm happy to put any commentating on what you're wondering about, what I think about it. Happy to give my opinion if you know me. All right, guys, let's get into this. New Year's history. So, it's always good to understand history, understand where you came from, some of these things that you do and why you've been doing them. Because, humans have been here for millions of years and they've been coming up with stuff. And, if you understand what's going on with what we think, you are a distillation of all the good stuff that has come before you. It's essentially what's going on here. And you can think of this like music. There's been an infinite amount of songs written, but the only ones that stick around are the ones that are good, the ones that people actually liked. So, there's tons of stuff that's created, but it's the stuff that hits us that we get value out of, that sticks around and becomes part of culture. And so New Year's history, the reason I wanted to say this is because a lot of times it gets poo-pooed. People are like, oh yeah, New Year's resolutions, those people, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, well, when you're doing a New Year's resolution, you're just participating in something that's been going on for at least 4,000 years. So, don't swim against the tide, right? Like, you have this physiology, it's evolved and built up in a certain way over generations and generations, millennia. And when you try and work against it, well, it just doesn't work as well, right? So go with it if you want your life. Life's hard enough as it is. That's what I've observed. And so I'm not going to make it any harder than it needs to be by trying to buck the stuff that's going on. That is obviously we need to update and add to, but hopefully you get what I'm saying there. Drink of water. Back. I'm back. So let's get into this. I'm doing some reading for you. This was the Google AI, by the way. Humans have celebrated the New Year for at least 4,000 years. The earliest recorded New Year's celebrations were held in ancient Babylon, Mesopotamia, and involved an 11-day festival called Akitu, one or the other, A-K-I-T-U. I paused on the Mesopotamia because for the longest time I said Mesopotamia. I have no idea why, but I did, and I had to catch myself. The Babylonians held different rituals each day of Akitu. They carried statues of their gods through the streets to cleanse the world for the new year. They also made promises to the gods, such as paying off debts and returning borrowed objects. Some of y'all need to return your borrowed objects. You know who you are. These promises were the forerunners of New Year's resolutions. So what were they doing? I want to say that. What were they doing? They were going, you know what? What I suck at? What I do wrong? What's on my conscience? And in the next year, they're trying to make that stuff right? And we all do that, or at least we think we should do that. We try and identify where we're not like killing it, where we know maybe we're not living up to our capacity, our capabilities, and then we try and set that right. We try and get ourselves going in the right direction. We try and clean up these things that we are not doing and could be doing better. And that's been going on for a long, long time, guys, at least 4,000 years. But you got to understand that this would have been going on longer than that. This just wasn't invented one day, right? This evolved into this culture at the time. And then one last thing to read here. The New Year ritual called Akitu. Oh, so this is going to add to the specificity of one of the things that they did during this 11-day festival. Excuse me. The New Year ritual called Akitu involved a unique practice where the reigning king would be symbolically humiliated by a high priest by being stripped of his clothes and receiving a ceremonial slap in the face. So basically the big dog, the guy that's running the whole community there, all of Mesopotamia, gets called up in front of everybody. They strip him naked and they slap his face. What are they doing? They're basically humiliating him. They're saying, humble yourself. You ain't perfect. You know you ain't perfect. You didn't live up to the gods. You didn't live up to the expectations. How could you do better? This would affirm the king's, back to the reading, this would affirm the king's dependence on the gods and ensure his continual rule for the coming year. This act was seen as a sign of humility and was performed in front of the statue of the god of Marduk and all the people. The king's tears were considered a positive omen, signifying divine approval. I found that interesting. The king's tears were considered as a sign of approval. You know, it's one thing to say you're being humble. It's another thing to be humble. And when you get humbled, sometimes there's tears that come along with it, right? When you look back at some of the things you've been doing, sometimes it's going to bring the flood. And that is a good thing in that situation. All right, 2 comments here. It's a confession, which I already said, which is a goal. Oh, that's interesting. It's a confession, which is a goal, right? I guess I basically already said that. I got how to pronounce Mesopotamia in case I forgot. Isn't that funny? All right, so there's a little bit of history of it, right? Like I said, you don't want to swim against the tide, right? Humans have been doing this thing for a while, and what we think starts to get substantiated into our being. There's another interesting thing. So the king was the example of that, and that's another thing you'll see with humans is it always starts with one person, and then that, if it's good and it's productive and it's positive, that disseminates its way down into all humans. We all kind of adapt that behavior pattern if it's a behavior pattern that yields the result that we're looking for, okay? You see that happens everywhere. It starts with one and then makes its way into to everybody if it's good. Sometimes if it's bad too, if you're on Satan's side. Anyways, I know none of you are. All right, so that's a little bit of history of the New Year's resolution. Why set a goal? Listed a bunch of things off here about why you would want to set a goal. What's the benefit of setting a goal? Goals give you direction, right? If you don't have a goal, if you don't have something you're specifically focused on and say, I'm going there, then you don't really have much direction, right? You're just kind of waking up and living and doing whatever you're doing. And that's kind of like, kind of like fog. It's kind of like not being clear. It's kind of like not really knowing where you're heading out there in the future. And so a goal gives you direction. A goal removes confusion, right? Kind of like what I said. Like if you got fog, you're confused, right? You don't have direction, right? So those kind of go hand in hand. A goal gives you an opportunity for contrast, which is what we talked about in one of the episodes on the mind body, right? If you're always doing the same thing, right? You're repeating the behavior patterns of yesterday, which is what we all do when the goal is to try and change those behavior patterns so they become new ones. But if we're repeating those behavior patterns, you're not getting any contrast in your life, right? So well, here's a great example. I wasn't eating vegetables because I read don't eat vegetables. And I'm like, there's good logic behind the argument. So I ran with that for a little while and it was pretty good for a little bit. But then I started to notice some stuff I didn't like. And so they introduced vegetables. And I was doing this. So basically, I'll just tell you, I was eating a salad 4 days a week for, I don't remember what it was, 2, 3, or 4 months. And I'm like, this is good. I saw improvement. There was contrast right there, right? I was doing one thing. I did something different. I got contrast. And then I got to see different information and get a different perspective. But I was still dealing with some stuff. I was still dealing with some skin stuff. I was still breaking out a little bit. I'm still getting dry skin. I still have dry skin. But I was breaking out, and that was the big issue. And I was like, it just occurred to me, like, why don't you just eat a salad every day and see what happens? And bam, that was the solution. Like, my skin has been way better since I started eating a salad every day. And I'm not perfect, but I'm getting at least 5 to 6, sometimes 7 every day. And that's been the remedy. So what is it? That's contrast. I was living one way, and this was happening, and then I started living another way, and then that happened. That's that contrast. Setting a goal will do that because now you're going to have, this was life without a goal, and now this is life with a goal. You're going to get some contrast. You're going to learn something. Kind of goes along with contrast. This is a huge one. A goal is an opportunity to learn how to not quit, right? Because we start something, and we might not have a goal tied to it. We're just, oh, that'll be fun. Oh, yeah, I'm going to do that. And we just start it. We don't set any goal, and then we quit, right? And if you set a goal, you could still quit, but you could also say, I'm going to set this goal, and I'm not going to quit until I get it. And then you're going to learn how to, one, you're going to start getting that goal, which is great. But 2, you're going to learn the bigger skill of how to not quit. And we could all get better at that. Reasons to set a goal. go along with your physiology. You, since you're here and you're listening to this or watching, you are a target-oriented organism. We are incredibly visually built. Our brains, 50% of our neocortex, is involved in image processing, and that goes all the way down to the brainstem and everything. So we're built around vision. Some of the best seeing animals on the planet. Now, what does vision do? Vision allows you to see something and move towards it. That's been going on forever. 200 million years. Who knows? Since the organisms started seeing things, they were looked at something and they can move towards it. That is a target. Our mind-body connection is now wired up that way to where if we picture something in our mind, we see it as a target. We have that target out there. We can now start to move towards it. So all your physiology, the mind-body connection, everything starts getting wrapped up in that and allows you to move towards it. But without the target, well, you don't really know what you're moving towards. And then last point on why to set a goal, having a target allows you to stay focused on the target, which seems obvious, regardless of your current situation. So what does that mean? Well, guess what? You've probably experienced this. Some days, life sucks. Some days, you don't feel like it. Some days, you feel amazing. Some days, everything's awesome. When you have a target out there and a goal, it doesn't really matter how you feel that day. You get to continually move towards that goal. It allows you to not let the drudgery or the ill feelings or the whatever feel in some kind of way to distract you or knock you off target, as long as you don't quit. Having a target allows you to stay focused on the target regardless of your current situation. Okay, those are all reasons to set a goal. There's one reason why people don't set goals, and that is fear, just straight up. They're afraid. They're afraid of, well, one, people kind of like hanging out in the fog, right? You can't really identify if you quote unquote failed or not, or didn't do what you said you were going to do because you didn't identify any kind of goal. So people kind of like being in that space. It's way more comfortable, right? If you don't feel like it that day, you didn't set a goal, you don't have to do it. So, but it's really fear of failure or fear of judgment or fear whatever. FEAR is kind of what's driving the reason why people won't set goals. But let me say this. You don't get rid of fear, because who wants to live like that? I know you don't. Oh God, please, Lord, tell me I'm recording. You don't get rid of fear by ignoring it or trying to stuff it down. You get rid of fear by taking action. End of story. And this goes all the way back to physiology. Rabbits would just hide. A lot of organisms would just hide if there was some sort of danger going on. And that fear would stay with them. And maybe it got them past it and they could go out and they could go nibble on some grass again, but fear kind of ruled the behavior pattern. If you want to get rid of fear, you have to take action. I think I've talked about this before on another podcast. When you take action, fear will start to dissipate, because what you'll find out is, especially if a rabbit goes faces his fear, he's probably going to get eaten. But when a human goes and faces their fear, what are you really afraid of? I mean, if you really analyze it, what are you afraid of? What people think? Gives a rip. Gives a rip. It's your life. Go build your life. So again, you don't get rid of fear by ignoring it or trying to control your emotions. You get rid of fear by taking action. So go take action. Well, guess what? You got an opportunity to take some action. Setting a goal. First, I do need to say this. When you're setting a goal, and this is going to be the most important step, you need to visualize ultimately it comes down to who you want to be, right? You have to get some quiet time and sit there and get yourself into a positive frame of mind and see who or what it is that you want to have or create in your life. And you have to have positive emotion tied to that. If you sit there in quiet time and you visualize the person you want to be and it makes you uncomfortable, it seems like too much work, you get scared, that's not going to work. You have to get rid of that, and you have to see yourself in some sort of positive light. I'm saying this thinking about if I was going to set a goal to improve my health and fitness and longevity. But this could apply to anything, which I'll talk about in a second. But key point, anyways, get your head cleared out, get rid of the nonsense, get a clear picture of who it is you want to be or what it is you want to create and tie positive emotion to it and actually believe that you can do it. Bam, that is step one. Then what you're going to want to do is tie a number to that. Before we get into that, though, what I've come to notice is and I had a friend point out that there was actually a fourth, but I don't remember what they said. And I don't know if I remember necessarily agreed, but there's definitely 3 major areas of everybody's life. I guess you could say spiritual. Yeah, that would probably be it. You've got your health, you've got your finances, and you've got your relationships, right? You got your health, your body, how's everything, mentally, physically, mental, physical, how's that doing? Hopefully that's optimized or doing as good as you can get it right now. You've got your finances, hopefully you're organized there. You're not spending more money than you should be spending. You're trying to be productive and build up an account, build some sort of financial security, being disciplined in that area. And then 3, your relationships, right? You make sure you take time with relationships, connecting with people, and being a good human. And then you could obviously add in your spiritual side of that. So there's 4. I think maybe that spiritual kind of sits over the top of all that. But those are 3 areas. So when you're sitting down and you're going to think about what it is you want to set a goal around, I personally would pick one of those 3 areas or the 4th, because I think you could do it this way. You could pick one thing from each area, but you just got to be cautious, because when you pick too much, when you try and do too much, you get overwhelmed. And overwhelmed is a legit emotion, and you'll shut down. When you're overwhelmed, you shut down. That is the response to being overwhelmed. Unless you can get really, really, one way to get through that is to start to clear stuff out and fight through it. But anyways, you don't want to get overwhelmed because it's going to shut you down. So pick one area and then pick one thing in that area to focus on. And what that's going to do, because you've already got life going on, you've already got energy going out, you've already got attention, your time is taken up in other areas. You don't have, 12 hours to put towards this. Maybe you do, and maybe you could get more aggressive. But most of us are already working a lot, doing the family thing, trying to take care of our health and taking care of our health and fitness. We're not trying. And so our time is already constrained to some degree, and it's hard to identify exactly how much you have. So pick something that is a one thing. Pick something that's a one thing. Anyways, pick one thing, all right? Oh, make sure I haven't missed anything yet. Pick one thing to focus on. Overwhelm, focused. Oh, yeah. And when you pick one thing, you're going to be focused and not diffused, right? Again, we want to stay focused and be able to start because one of the big things that needs to happen is you need to see yourself moving towards it. Because when you see yourself moving towards the goal that you set, you get positive emotion, which reinforces the behavior pattern, which then you start to take more action, then you get positive emotion. You have to, if you're not experiencing a lot of positive emotion in your life, I can just about guarantee it's because you're not as productive as you know you should be. And setting a goal will start to get you up out of that funk, okay? All right, make it realistic. This is a huge piece right here. When you set your goal, it needs to be realistic. And what that means is when you think about it, you have to actually believe that you'll do it. Whatever the specific action is going to be. Hey, I'm not working out and I need to start. I'm going to start in the new year. I'm going to work out 3 days a week. Or, hey, you know what? I've been working out. I want to level up my nutrition. I haven't been, I'm eating a lot of fast food. I'm kind of disorganized around my nutrition. I don't have a plan. I'm going to put a plan together, and I'm going to make sure I cook breakfast and have a good breakfast every day. Or, hey, you know what? I'm not going to try and do the whole day. I'm just going to focus on dinner. I'm going to make sure I have a good, healthy dinner every night, right? So you put that plan in place and you get focused on that one thing. But it needs to be a layup. So what do I mean by that? It needs to be something you believe you'll do. Because if you say, you know what, I'm going to work out 6 days a week. I'm going to put in an hour and a half every day, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Well, I don't know. Do you really believe you're going to do that? Because if you don't believe you're going to do it, you're not going to do it. And what's the point in doing that? That's just going to get you frustrated, all right? So when you get a layup, something you know you'll do, well, you'll do it then. I don't know if I'm making sense on this one, but hopefully that makes sense. If you've been setting goals for a while or you do have extra time, then you can maybe try and push that a little bit to something that's a little bit more moderately difficult. But I just caution against that because it's not necessarily about getting the thing that you're putting down as a goal. It's about learning how to set goals and then actually get them done. And if it's an easy one, well, guess what? that you're going to go, well, that was easy. You're going to set another one and then another one and another one. And that's going to start to build this ability to set goals and achieve them. And that's really what the important thing is. It's not necessarily the goal that you set. It's learning how to set a goal and achieve it. All right. Second to last thing you need to do is pick a number, okay? You're going to have to tie a number to this goal. That'll be the scariest part, most likely. Itchy nose. What do we got? We got magic. It's like little Tinkerbell tickled my nose for me. There it is. Pick a number. The value of a number. Thou shalt not fooleth thyselfeth. Thou shalt not fooleth thyselfeth, okay? What does that mean? Well, I talked about this before. If you got a number, you can't lie about it. You can't lie to yourself. It's right there. And either you're moving towards it and doing that thing or you're not. There's no gray area. A number is measurable, right? So now I can see, hey, I've actually done the thing that I said I was going to do, right? There it is. And when I do the thing that I said I'm going to do, which was definitive, work out 3 days a week, guess what? I'm now get a nice hit of positive emotion. I get to go, I can do it. I get to feel good about myself. I get to envision a better future. I get to envision myself as a healthy person or somebody who cooks their own food and eats clean. I get to see myself as that person. Because if you're not taking the action towards that, you're going to have a really hard time believing that you're going to be that person. And then positive emotion, which I covered. All right, and last piece. Once you do all this stuff, right, you visualized, you saw who you wanted to be or what you wanted to create. You picked one of those specific areas. You picked one thing to focus on in those specific areas. You made it realistic. You tied a number to it. Now you got to follow through. You got to say, I'm going to set a goal because I'm going to learn how to not quit on things I want to get. So you got to follow through. Part of the follow through is actually measuring it. A lot of times I'll have people start tracking, and that's like step one. One of the ways to get good at your nutrition is to start tracking and then start to change some of the things that you're tracking, right? But if we don't track, we don't follow through on that tracking, then we're not following through. That's about all I can say about that. And then don't quit. Learn how to not be a quitter. All right. That is it for today. I'm not calling you a quitter, all right? All I'm saying is you got a lot of potential. I know it. Because if you're taking the time to listen to this, you do. And so if you haven't set goals before, go through this process and pick one. And then don't stop until you get it. I set a goal 2 years ago. I used to read a lot, then I didn't read a lot, and then I used to read a lot, and then I didn't read a lot. And it had been years since I was pretty consistent in my reading. And I was trying, but I hadn't set a goal around it. And I think it was in 2023. I was like, you know what? I was sitting down, putting my New Year's resolutions together. And I said, I need to read. I need to consistently read. And I'm going to read an average of an hour every day. I did not hit that goal, right? To hit 7 hours in a week, basically, was the goal. I did not hit that goal for 2 months. But what I didn't do was stop because I didn't get it in the first week or the second week or the third week and get frustrated. I was like, you know what? This is the goal. I know this is where I need to be. I know this is something I need to do. Here's another week. I'm going to try again. I'm going to try again. I'm going to try again. And eventually I got it. And now I read a lot. I read a lot. Yeah. And so now it's a thing. I don't have to track. Oh, I tracked that, by the way. What was that app called? Ad Tracker or something like that. There's tracking apps out there and you can load in, hey, reading, and then you just hit tap when you start reading, and then you hit tap when it's done, and then you get to see your stuff accumulate over the week or whatever that habit may be, right? Got a friend who works out, and when they mark their calendar every day that they worked out, they see that, it's visual, and they know when they're doing it and when they're not doing it, and they can't fool themselves. But anyways, this is final thoughts, guys. So get some direction, remove confusion, and learn how to not quit. The better you get at setting goals and working towards them, the better you're going to feel about yourself, the more ability you'll have to create the life that you want, which is something everybody wants to do, right? Everybody wants to be in control and be able to kind of put the life together that they want to have and live. Take 30 minutes of quiet time to think about what you'd like to see happen, in 2025. Or do this with your spouse, right? If you're in a relationship, I mean, you should probably still do it on your own too, but doing that with your significant other will be a powerful tool as well, because then you can hold each other accountable. You don't get rid of fear by trying to turn it off or ignore it. You get rid of fear by taking action, just to reiterate. And lastly, set a goal and start improving your life. You, your family, and the local community will all be better off for it. When you get better, everybody around you is going to benefit from that. And if you got people around you that don't like when you get better, well, you gotta figure that out. That's what you gotta do. All right. Let's not end on a negative. Set a goal and start improving your life. You, your family, and everyone around you will be better off for it. All right, guys, have a great week, and we'll see you next week. We are going to be talking about, I don't know how to put this into words. We're going to be talking about food and eating and just kind of like that whole kind of feedback thing going on with that. Okay. So a little bit on nutrition, and it'll be good. I think you'll like it. It's an article I wrote for a long time ago. All right. Help us grow. Like and subscribe at YouTube. Share videos. If you see videos, little clips, send those out. Share them with people. Help us grow the channel. And lastly, submit your questions to Dennis Fenrich at DennisFenrich.com. All right, guys. We'll see you real soon. Have a great week. Bye-bye.